So Turning Point USA handing out thousands of freedom shirts to honor one of America's most iconic freedom fighters, Charlie Kirk, at Saturday's UFC event in New York City.
Have you ever thought you'd see so many freedom shirts in downtown Manhattan, Madison Square Garden? We got UFC tonight, and we got freedom shirts out here. Look at this. We've handed out thousands of them so far. The boys are back in town. The freedom shirt, the new MAGA hat.
That was Benny, the host of the Benny Johnson show, Benny Johnson himself, and he joins us right now. So, Benny, I've been noticing, not just at that event, but when you go out in the public, even in New York City, you'll see every so often someone with those shirts, freedom. What does it represent?
Yes, Lawrence, good morning, and I bring you tidings of great joy this morning for Fox and friends. Freedom is alive and well in America. Freedom is not free. It never has been. You always have to fight for freedom. You have to fight tyranny. Charlie Kirk always fought tyranny. He fought the culture wars in the belly of the beast, in the heart of the dragon. And what is more tyrannical than a defund the police communist getting in charge of the greatest city in America, the capital city of America, the empire city, New York City? Now, this is why we went and took 3,000 freedom shirts right to the heart of New York, Madison Square Garden, at the UFC main event, and handed them out in the streets. And Lawrence, I have good news for you. Those shirts went like hotcakes. We weren't sure if the people of New York were going to be down with the Charlie Kirk freedom shirt. We couldn't actually pass them out fast enough. Lawrence, they went in less than 60 minutes. 3,000 shirts of all sizes. And the people of New York are proving that Americans have freedom in their bones. And one final thing for you, Lawrence. The people who love the shirts the very most, and I sent a photo along to your producers, police officers, the NYPD, the very organization that is potentially going to be underfunded or defunded by Mandami. Officers were out grabbing shirts left and right, shoving their pockets full of freedom shirts. The NYPD loves freedom, and New York City, ladies and gentlemen, is not gone yet.
Yeah, those guys also realize that if Mandami has his way, they're going to have to retire early, many of them, because they just aren't going to be able to put their lives at risk with some of the policies that he's recommending. Tomorrow, you're going to be speaking at a Turning Point USA event at Clemson University. Tell us about that.
Yes. Yes, so what I am focusing on right now is the American dream. Young people need to be able to afford houses. If you can't afford a home, then you can't start a family. If you can't get married and start a family, you won't have grandchildren, you won't have buy-in, you won't have the American promise that you can have a future here in this country for you and your children. This is something that is a crisis in America. It's something that Charlie talked about often. The average age of a first-time home buyer, Lawrence, is 40 years old. That's well past the optimum time for fertility. That's well past a man or a woman's ability to want to get started and get married and have a life. This is something, and it is a crisis that we must work on. We must be able to listen to our young people and hear that this is a major concern. And so we are going to be working very closely with the Trump administration and with other policy groups and announcing some major initiatives to have young people seize the American dream through home ownership, through ensuring that we have an American future for our Gen Z and Gen Alpha. And by the way, they love this country. They love freedom. They love America. They love President Trump. And they want to have this promise delivered, Lawrence.
Yeah, they just want a better way. I mean, socialism is definitely not the answer. The government way is definitely not the answer. There has to be a pro-capitalist message for these young people to realize that they can make it as well. Benny, thanks so much for joining the program.
My honor.
Who defiled my beloved floor? Was it you, Private Crooks? Say it. No, sir. Don't you lie to me, boy. You're dressed like a canine, and there's a crime scene shaped like a Tootsie Roll right here.
Hot off the Fox hit, ladies and gentlemen, am I not dressed appropriately for the show? I mean, I put on the little suit and tie for Fox, It just means I love you, right? Because we want to be authentic on this program. And this is what I like to wear. It's quite hot in Florida most of the year. And this is what's comfortable. And this has us rocking and rolling. I also have 4 little kids. And so they are constantly splattering me with avocado or yogurt. I've changed this shirt 3 times this morning. 3 times this morning because of my kids. And, well, I got to tell you, that's why it's great to just have like one thing that you wear at all times. My team, my production team, regularly tells me it's great because you're just wearing the same thing. We just do pickup shots. It's very easy to cut things together and to make videos when we're doing videos on the road. You're just wearing the same damn thing all the time. And so I don't know. Let me know in the comment section. You think I should switch up with the black shirt? I'm just going to rock it this morning. I love making sure that we can rock and roll on Fox and Friends. That is what we were on. We were talking about home affordability and an exciting event this weekend in New York City. We'll cover that in just a moment. Today is Monday, November 17th, 2025. New accounts linked to Thomas Crooks, Trump's would-be assassin, shows a very worrying trend, a furry fetish, transgender ideology, groomed Thomas Crooks. This is an absolute bombshell, and it proves something that we have been saying for a very long time. And we're going to get into it on the show today. Trump calls for Congress to release all of the Epstein files. Okay, I'm glad we're here. It's a moment where I guess I'm happy that we finally reached this moment. Should have been the moment when they decided the strategy they were going to take on Epstein anyway, and so just out with it. There is a crisis of trust in our federal government, and the only way to fix it is to just be out with it, no matter what it is. Just be out with it. Just let it go. Just let it rip. And if you have something to hide or if you have nothing to hide, well, that's just the reality if you want to fix the system. Ladies and gentlemen, Senator John Kennedy will be live on our program, along with Lynn Patton, who will be joining the show. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. We will be at Clemson University tomorrow. Clemson University will be spitting. What are we going to talk about? I don't know. We're just going to decide. I never write speeches. We just go in and just kind of like let it rip off the top of the dome. So pray for me and pray that we're able to shed some salt and light. I love Clemson. There was a really bad spate of professors that got fired from Clemson or put on administrative leave for celebrating Charlie's assassination. So we don't have like unlimited time. So we wanted to strategically hit a couple of universities. University of Florida was one, because it's right here in our backyard. And then University of Clemson, based on the way that they've responded to Charlie's killing. And so we wanted to, again, like sort of put a dagger right into the heart of the dragon there. And that is exactly what we're going to do. It is exactly what we did in New York City, ladies and gentlemen. We'll get to that in just a moment. I hope that you are praying for us. I pray that you are praying for us. We're going to need it. There is a heightened spiritual battle going on right now. I'm sure you can feel it. There are people who clearly have bad faith intentions for MAGA, for our movement, for our country. And they are trying to usurp the American dream. They're trying to destroy and fracture our movement. And they are trying to rob the future for your young people. And so let's not allow them to do that. The only way to actually fight spiritual battles is, of course, not with bullets or bombs, but with prayer. And that is what you must do. Constantly vigilant and to pray. I can tell you this, as a matter of fact, I was up late last night praying. Sometimes you get up in the dark of night, in the small hours of the morning, and you have thoughts. And the only way to actually center yourself and get your life back on track is prayer. I know this as a matter of fact. Hollow is an incredible app that can help you do just that, ladies and gentlemen, especially in this Christmas season. There's a lot of instability, busyness. Things are expensive. People get stressed out around the Christmas season. It's time to make sure that you are locked in for the reason that we all celebrate Christmas, obviously, and that is the birth of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. So right now on Hollow, I would recommend you start praying. Read through the Bible and follow Advent if that's something that you do. There's a beautiful challenge called Pray 25. Be still, and it's led by incredible guides like Chris Pratt and Gwen Stefani. It's amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, go to hollow.com/Benny and join the thousands of others who are preparing their hearts for the coming of Christ. You can get 3 months free of Hollow right now. Go to hollow.com/Benny. Okay, so we went to the heart of New York City, Madison Square Garden, and we gave out 3,000 Charlie Kirk Freedom shirts. I got to tell you, I was not someone who was long on this idea. Like, I guess I just got blackpilled by the Mandami moment in New York. And I shouldn't. I'm so glad that I was like there and doing it. I gave away 5,000 Freedom shirts at Penn State, but that's way in the heart of Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania's a red state. There's a lot of patriots there. And so I just thought, well, maybe it'd be different in New York City, especially Madison Square Garden. UFC fight is going on. And, this is just the hustle and bustle in New York. And New York's communist, right? So will they want Charlie Kirk Freedom shirts? Yeah. Yes, they do. We gave out 3,000 shirts in less than 60 minutes out front of the garden. It was just a sight to behold. Also, here we go, the shot of the New York City police officers. Don't think I'm doxing anyone here. You can see their pockets are literally shoved full, slammed full of Charlie Kirk t-shirts. It's a beautiful moment. This is, of course, the forces that Mandami wants to defund. You can see here also police forces going and getting their Charlie Kirk t-shirts. It was an inspiring thing to see, and it was also inspiring that our America First fighter, Bo Nickel, a fighter who has been on this program. We did a long-form interview with him. We trained with him a little bit. I got my ass kicked by him. Boy, he just absolutely yeeted a dude with a KO kick to the head. Man, it was exciting and electric from inside of the garden. Ladies and gentlemen, here's that moment. Ooh. See you later. Good night. Just amazing. Bo Nickel is Trump's favorite fighter. He's a man who loves his country, loves God, loves his family. In his interview with Joe Rogan after this fight, he was just like, can't wait to get home to my wife and kids. That's it. So, ladies and gentlemen, it was a wonderful night. And it's really inspiring, frankly, to see these young men. I mean, here's just like the people that were out there getting the people, and you just play it. Nobody needs to hear me talk twice. But the people that are out here getting shirts and like helping us pass out that like these shirts, some of them are in high school. The youth is not lost. The youth is not communist. The youth is not turning on Trump. I don't believe the black pills. When push comes to shove, freedom is in our bones. This is the kind of stuff that's baked into us as Americans. And what we need to end up doing is winning on policies and delivering for these young kids. And then everything else is going to work itself out. Everything else becomes easy after that. Here's the full group photo, ladies and gentlemen, of the team that was out there. Obviously, Posobiec with the bullhorn, doing a great job. It was just an inspiring evening. And the America First fighter won, baby. It's awesome. Okay, all right. Enough of a recap here. Let's go diving into some very, very dark news. But first, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk through some trends here. The trends of transgender shooters. This is a pretty remarkable series of trends. The Lakewood shooter identified as trans. The Iowa high school shooter identified as radical and trans. Nashville shooter identified as trans. Still don't have the manifesto. Colorado Springs shooter identifies as non-binary. Denver shooter identifies as trans. Aberdeen shooter identifies as trans. And of course, Charlie Kirk's killer was in a transgender furry relationship with his extremely creepy and tweaker boyfriend. The most recent Minneapolis mass murder was transgender, and then wrote on their firearm that this was for the children. Wrote a bunch of anti-Trump and anti-Christian iconography on the bullets and some of the tactical gear for the firearms here. And so I'm starting to sense a trend. And what is that trend exactly? That trend is the defiance of who God made you. It is the lack of your ability to accept the reality of God. God created you. God doesn't need you. I know that might sound mean, but God is the God of the universe. He doesn't need a Benny. My life should mean nothing to God and nothing to anyone else, except for this. Because I'm a Christian, I know that God actually did create me and gave my life purpose. He marked my life for a specific purpose, a specific reason. And that gives me value. I am created by a creator for a reason. What is that reason? I'm not sure, man. I look at my kids. I look at some of the work we're doing here. It's awesome. And so we're just going to walk through the doors that God has for us. But that gives me meaning. If I believe that God made a mistake in making me, well, one, that means God's not perfect. That's a desecration, defiling of reality. Number one. Number two, maybe I just don't believe in a God at all because my life is some sick joke. Born in the wrong body. I was supposed to be a girl. I was supposed to be a boy. I'm going to butcher myself in order to do that. I'm going to mutilate children. I'm going to castrate myself. We've talked often about how popular the vasectomy bus was at the DNC. We actually walked right up to it. Trust me, I didn't go inside, but I was morbidly curious about the vasectomy and abortion buses at the DNC. The abortion buses were so packed, you couldn't get an appointment. Not that we tried. Child sacrifice is a core tenet of the Democrat Party's pagan religion. And the vasectomy bus was slam full as well. Imagine letting a dude operate vasectomy on you, driving in the back of a bus through the mean streets of Chicago. Lots of potholes. Not a great city. Not a fun place to get a vasectomy. But Democrats were lining up to do it. They hate children. They despise God's first command. What is God's first command to us? Be fruitful and multiply. Go forth. Create life. Create more life in the beautiful way that I intended. Get married. Have kids. Start a family. This is why we're so obsessed with housing, because you can't do those things if you're living inside of a group house. You don't want to do those things with 100 strangers inside of an apartment building, even if you can close the door. Our passion for home ownership for young people is actually our passion for starting families and creating families. More families in this nation. Strong families, strong fathers, strong mothers will save America. But the other side sees it totally differently. The other side sees you as an inconvenience and, more importantly, potentially flawed. And so they push this transgender ideology. Pop it up, Klein. One thing is very clear. The trans movement is radicalizing mentally ill into becoming violent terrorists and targeting children. The pattern is undeniable. The Annunciation Church shooter identified as trans. Nashville shooter identifies as trans. Lakewood Church shooter identifies as trans. Colorado Springs shooter identifies as non-binary. Denver shooter identifies as trans. Aberdeen shooter identifies as trans. Iowa shooter identifies as trans. And ladies and gentlemen, Charlie Kirk's killer was in a transgender relationship with a furry. And so there's something very dark here, and that's hitting the nail on the head. There's no way to understand it other than Christian doctrine and the doctrinal Christian truth available to all of us in the first book of Genesis is God created man and woman. And that they are different all the way down to their bones, their DNA. Archaeologists digging in Africa. Wow, we find a really old skeleton. It's 1,000 years old. Whoa. Was it a male or a female? Well, let's check the pelvis, which is entirely distinct for a female in order to bear children. If we don't have a pelvis, then let's go ahead and check a bone fragment. Pluck an XX or XY. Boom. That's the ball game. There you go. Man or woman, boy or girl, male or female. It is hard-coded into us because of our common creator who loves us. So imagine, if you will, an ideology so satanic, so evil that is to defile the actual most basic creation of God in God's first chapter of Genesis in the Bible. And you then can see the easy step to nihilism, spiraling, over-medication, sociopathic behavior. And then eventually, if you're this miserable, and if you're this broken on the inside, and if you're this possessed, you're going to do what Satan always does. What is the nature of Satan? Steal, kill, and destroy. Before we get to Thomas Crooks, get me that image from the transgender shooter in Minneapolis. I'm certain we have it. From the journals. The journals of the transgender shooter in Minneapolis tell you exactly what happened. Now remember, this transgender shooter went to a church and targeted little children on their knees praying to Jesus. The journals show not just satanic iconography, but a literal demon speaking from within the shooter. In a chilling passage, a demon appears in a mirror. And that demon spaketh to the actual shooter. The shooter is sitting there with a gun in the drawing, in the rough sketch. And the transgender shooter goes, when will this all end? When will this all end? When will it end? Please, God, when will it end? And the demon looks back in the mirror. It's like Satan incarnate looks back in the mirror and says, when you kill. When you kill. When you kill yourself and when you kill others. Do you need any further evidence of what this ideology is? How when you mess with the defiling, when you defile God and God's design, then you're opening up a portal, you're opening up a door to some very dark things. He was writing in Russian for some reason. Another very strange thing about this. This shooter, but not worth covering here. There you can see the demon, the satanic figure in the mirror, and the words translate to, when will it all end? When will it all end? When you kill, kill, kill. So, I don't think you need any further convincing that this is an ideology that you mustn't allow to indoctrinate your children? This is an ideology that needs to be severely looked at as it pertains to clearly the butchering of children. The child transgender surgeries are it's just the things of Sodom and Gomorrah. They're indefensible. And the results, the early results of this ideology gaining so much prominence over the past few years are not good. And they're about to get worse. New account linked to Thomas Crooks shows furry fetish and transgender ideology. Let's go ahead and read. Crooks was shot dead by a Secret Service sniper, but not before killing a rally goer, Corey Carpenter, 50, and seriously wounding David Dutch and James Copenhaver, also hitting President Trump in the head with a bullet. Then FBI Director Chris Wray told Congress on July 13th, 2024, attack, that the Bureau had found nothing in Crooks' online history that pointed to a motive or political ideology. A week later, Wray's deputy, Paul Abate, told Congress that comments posted on one of Crooks' social media accounts appear to reflect anti-Semitism and anti-immigration themes. He's MAGA. Oh, wow. He's MAGA. He's a member of the America First MAGA movement. Got it. Trying to kill Trump. Thanks to enterprising source who uncovered Crooks' hidden digital footprint, we can now see that Abate misled Congress by omission because he left out the entire section of Crooks' online interactions from January to August 2020 when he did an ideological backflip and went from rabidly pro-Trump to rabidly anti-Trump and then went dark, never seeming to post again. Among these 17 accounts uncovered by our source were ones on YouTube, Snapchat, Venmo, Zelle, GroupMe, Discord, Google Play, Quizlet, Chess.com, and Quora. The online interactions when Crooks was ages 15 to 17 give us a better understanding of his evolution to an assassin and invite more questions about what reversed his ideology. The danger Crook posed was visible for years in public online spaces, says the source. His radicalization, violent rhetoric, and obsession with political violence were all documented under his real name. It wasn't hidden. This is what Tucker proved on Friday with his bombshell report. The official narrative claimed that he acted alone without clear motive, ideology, or digital footprint. That is a lie. Yet the source found reams of information that shows that Crooks was not simply one unknowable lone actor. He left a digital trail of violent threats, extreme ideology, admiration for mass violence. He spoke openly of political assassination and posted under his real name. He was even flagged by others for his threats. Thanks to an enterprising source that uncovered Crooks' digital footprint, we can now see that the FBI deputy director misled Congress by omission because he left out an entire section of Crooks' online interactions from January to August of 2020. He did an ideological backflip and went from a pro-Trump supporter, as we covered on Friday, to an anti-Trump supporter obsessed with violence against the government. Ladies and gentlemen, Crooks' trajectory from pro-Trump to anti-Trump is evident. He referred to Trump as the literal definition of patriotism in 2019. He also engaged in violent threats against Democrats with regularity. Yet the source found reams of information that shows that Crooks was not simply some unknowable lone actor. He left a digital trail of violent threats and murder. But in early 2020, in early 2020, online behavior flipped 180 degrees and he became very critical of Trump. Fox News and Republican complaints about mail-in voting. First time he criticized Trump was on January 23rd, 2020, when he commented on a video of a law professor, Jonathan Turley. Keep in mind, the only reason we may know about any of this is because of Trump's stupidity, Crooks wrote. He started describing Trump supporters as a cult. How can people call others sheep? But you're in a brainwashed cult, he says. The same day, he described Trump as a racist. In April 2020, Crooks was constantly criticizing Trump's pandemic response as too slow. Everything he's doing now should have already been done. Through the summer of 2020, Crooks' online rhetoric became increasingly radical and violent. Crooks wrote, "In my honest opinion, the only way to fight the government is with terrorism-style attacks. Sneak a bomb into a government building. If anybody sees you, to track it down. Leaders of the military try to assassinate them." Among the 17 accounts uncovered by our source, only one was operated under an alias, Rod Swanson. All the rest of them were in Thomas Crooks' real name, Tom Crooks. Rod Swanson is a former senior FBI agent who's now chief investigations for the who was the chief investigations for the state of Nevada during the 2017 Las Vegas mass shooting. He previously served under FBI Director Robert Mueller. This is very strange. So he had a PayPal account operated under the name of an FBI agent that worked the Vegas mass shooting? What the hell? Contacted by phone over the weekend, Swanson said he was surprised that his name was connected to Crooks. "I don't know anything about that kid or his family. I don't even use PayPal. I don't know how to set up a PayPal account." Okay. He retired from the FBI in Vegas in 2016. Okay. Now he works for oil and gas in Houston. That's odd. So his payment account shows up as an FBI agent? It's extremely weird. Okay, here we go. Furry fetish. When told of Crooks' online threats, he said there was no way the FBI could be aware of the teenager. No matter how ridiculous the allegations, no matter if it's COVID or somebody's going to knock on somebody's door, Swanson said, if they investigate that kid, there's a record of it, and there's an assessment that some leader made that he was not a threat or didn't rise to the level of a threat. He also said that if the FBI had information about his PayPal account, that I could imagine that they would reach out to me right away. Given Crooks' pattern of tracking high-profile mass shootings and violent events, the source believes that it is plausible that he adopted Swanson's name as a private joke. Like alleged Charlie Kirk assassin Tyler Robinson, Crooks appeared to have an interest in furries and was exploring gender identity. He described himself with the pronouns they, them on the platform DeviantArt, which is one of the biggest online hubs for furry art and furry community. I'm glad that they explain it here in the article so that I don't have to explain it to you. A furry is somebody who has an interest in anthropomorphized animal characters, like cartoonish animal characters, often a sexual fetish. It's a grotesque fetish to have. Don't Google search it. 2 accounts linked to Crooks' primary email were found on DeviantArt under usernames Epic Microwave and The Epic Microwave. The account suggests that he had an obsession with scantily clad cartoon characters sporting muscle-bound male bodies and female heads. Do you see it? Do you see the transgender ideology here? It's sort of like satanic Baphomet. You ever seen what the Church of Satan worships as the Baphomet? It's the actual Satan. The figure of Satan is trans. The figure of Satan is a goat head on a male body with female breasts. This is what they worship. And Klein, if you would, click 3rd row all the way over to the right. You can see here that the statue of Satan, I'm not sure where they set this one up, has little children being indoctrinated by this. You had the goat head obviously is like a man beast, a bestiality in Detroit. And then obviously male and female genitalia. And in their statues, they want little children like Thomas Crooks or Tyler Robinson to be absorbed into this ideology because it is, of course, the polar negative of God, what God intended. Man and woman. Man created in God's own image, not with a goat head, not the head of an animal. Animals are animals. Animals are not created in God's image. We are created in God's image, and we are precious because of it. But if you can warp and manipulate and then poison the minds of these young people who are susceptible to this, then you can turn them against God, against nature, and obviously into, down the chain, sociopathic radicals willing to murder because of how broken they are. It is a spiritual war. So, again, this is bombshell stuff. Deviant art user used they, them pronouns and was on a furry hub. So, like, when the FBI sits there, hey, Alex, grab me the clip. If it's not in the, is it in the production? I want to play you the lie. I want to play you the lie from the FBI. Because Paul Abadi at the FBI went before Congress and said, nah, Thomas Crooks probably just a right-winger. He doesn't like immigrants and he doesn't like Democrats, which is simply half the story. Of course, we totally acknowledge, and we've played you the reporting, and we just read you the reporting, that this young man started off as a supporter of President Trump early in his first term. But that things changed psychotically, dramatically, and radically, and went very, very dark, and very, very hard left, very violent left. So the FBI lied to you. An accurate statement would be the one I just gave to you, including that clearly this young man was interested in degenerate sexual preferences like furry porn, transgender ideology, went by they, them pronouns. How different would this have played out if the FBI had come out and said, this individual may have identified as trans, was using they, them pronouns, and was into extremely perverse, left-wing coded cartoon porn? How different would our conversation have been? Instead, they got a single donation to Trump in 2016 and then to Biden based on Act Blue, and that is reflective, frankly, of the political evolution of Thomas Crooks. But it's only half the story. Thomas Crooks did become a sociopathic left-wing radical. And then, of course, took the dark ideas, the broken ideology of transgenderism, and these warped cults that people get into over furry sex and like degenerate sex. Sex is the way, obviously, that the mind and the body can be destroyed. If you get into the wrong stuff, if you go down the wrong rabbit holes, man, this is how you truly this is how you lose your mind. And there's too many examples to cite. Guard your heart. Guard your eyes. Quit porn. Porn is all designed to be a gateway to more extreme and more degenerate and more demonic stuff. It numbs your sense. There's so many scientific studies out here to show that it numbs your senses. It breaks your brain. It makes it impossible to engage in normal sex, to have a healthy and natural sexual relationship. Don't do it, man, or quit it. Obviously, massive struggle in the modern era. Okay, pals with neo-Nazis online. Do we have that FBI clip? Okay. Let's read through the end of the article here, and we'll toss over the FBI lying to you. One of the people Crooks interacted with online was Willy Teppes, a member of a Norwegian neo-Nazi group and Nordic resistance movement, which was designated a terrorist organization. Teppes encouraged violence and Crooks's extremism, using a Maoist phrase that political power comes from the barrel of a gun. Crooks has repeated it several times in his comments. In one comment on October 5th, 2025, more than a year after Butler, Teppes commented to another user that he had been contacted by both Russian and American intelligence People who ask you to contact them when they just could easily contact you are feds. This is how they avoid entrapment. Both American and Russian intelligence does this. I've chatted with both, he claims. Shortly after this interaction, Tepes, Crooks, disappeared online. Did his brush with the Norwegian and his own violent rhetoric win him a visit from the FBI or Secret Service? Was Thomas Crooks groomed? Ladies and gentlemen. Well, we have commentary after our show on Friday from Kash Patel. And I have a take on this. It's hot or not, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. What you think, it's true. And this is my take on it. Let's pop up what Kash has to say here. So after learning all of the new available evidence on Thomas Crooks, which had to be released by independent sources and independent journalists, sleuths, whistleblowers, and fact finders, Kash Patel came out and said over 480 FBI employees were involved in the Thomas Crooks investigation. That's a lot of employees. They conducted over 1,000 interviews, addressed 2,000 public tips, analyzed data extracted from 13 seized digital devices, reviewed 500,000 digital files, collected, processed, synchronized hundreds of hours of video footage, analyzed financial activity from 10 different accounts, and examined data associated with 25 different social media online forums. Okay. So what's the, so it's that's a lot of data. What did you find? The investigation reveals that Crooks had limited online and in-person interactions, planned and conducted the attack alone, and did not leak or share his intent to engage in the attack with anyone. Okay. My problem with all of this, and you know that Kash is a friend of the show, and he's been on our program before. My problem with all of this is that you are operating not from a position of power here. And it's not Kash's fault. I'm just trying to be as fair as I possibly can. The FBI has lied to us so many times, including on this case. Kash Patel didn't break the FBI. It was well and far broken when he got the helm and he got the reins. But it is up to Kash Patel to run a functional FBI. And in order to do that, you have to have the trust of the American people. If you don't have the trust of the people, well, then all of society atomizes. The institutions that govern us must have a modicum of trust in order to function. And so it is the imperative for Kash to get that trust back. And the only way to do that is for the FBI to tell us that Thomas Crooks was a transgender furry cultist. Sicko. It should come from the FBI. All of the turn that Thomas Crooks made into a radical leftist and some of the mysterious engagements he's had online with strange accounts that may be feds, maybe not. Who knows? Clearly, this kid was groomed by someone. On Friday, Tim Burchett was on saying that it was the MK Ultra program, just right off the top of the dome. Nope, it was MK Ultra. Okay. Something happened with Thomas Crooks. The they, them pronouns and degenerate pornography habits of terminally online and warped people is very important to this story. And so you have to be out with it. You have to tell the American people first. Don't let it be spoken out from under you, because then it looks like there's more things being hidden. Goodness gracious, look at this mountain of evidence they have. 500,000 digital files? Release them. Oh, this boring. It's just his Google searches. Who cares? Show us that there is nothing that is being hidden here. There's no greater plot. There is no darker conspiracy. And most importantly, that the FBI trusts the American people to make accurate decisions ourselves, given the available evidence. And what is the FBI's job? The FBI's job is to gather evidence and then refer it to the Justice Department. Okay, fine. The FBI did their job. What is the Justice Department going to do? Thomas Crooks is dead. Maybe charge his parents. I don't know. It's not up to me. Although it seems, it's being the parent myself, seems beyond my wildest imagination that your child could be going through this kind of transformation, literal transformation, and you not know about it. Thomas Crooks was hoarding explosive material in his room. He lived in a very small little house. It's not like they had some McMansion, had his own wing of the manor. No, he was in like a little teeny little home, living with his parents. With no silverware? What the hell was that about? The home was scrubbed clean, like it was a crime scene. According to multiple federal investigators, very strange. They found an enormous amount of firearms in his room. The Google searches that he was making were constantly about explosives and some really dark stuff. And you're telling me that no one knew anything? Okay, well, then you got to release it. It's the same thing with the Epstein files. You just got to release it. But what about the victims? At some point, you either redact or you have to just say it is in the greater good of the American public. So we'll do this in the safest way possible for people to not re-victimize them. But you just got to be out with it because it'll all be used as a political weapon. And the more you lie to people, the more radical they get. The more radical they get, the more prone they are to doing this and shooting my friend Charlie on a live stream. And the similarities are stunning. We did a video in the days after Charlie's murder that there were some shocking similarities between Thomas Crooks and Tyler Robinson. And little did I know that it would go all the way down the rabbit hole into the degenerate porn habits and transgender ideology. Although I guess I should have suspected, based on the very dark and terrifying patterns that we're seeing right now play out with that community. Ladies and gentlemen, Cash has to release everything. You have to be out with everything. The final thing I'll say on this, because of course we ranted about it for 2 straight hours on Friday without any breaks, is that, man, I went to Butler. I stood where Thomas Crooks got killed. I saw with my own eyes a cleanup operation like I've never seen before in my life. The FBI doesn't go hose off roofs. That's very strange. Why was no one there? Why was I all alone? Why was I even able to get onto the murder site? What the hell is this? I couldn't believe it. I lived in a very dangerous neighborhood in Washington, D.C. I've talked regularly and publicly about witnessing murders, and I did. I saw murders. I lived in the ghetto. I saw gangland murders. My wife was a nurse at the hospital, treated. It was like the murder central, that wing of the hospital, man. Just gangland shootings all the time. D.C.'s a bloody place. And I would see the crimes unit out for days, protecting evidence, depending on what it was, protecting evidence, getting the bullet fragments, getting the DNA, getting a little thumbprint off one of the bullet casings. That happened once. Took them forever. They were able to get a match. This is the next day. Thomas Crooks hadn't been killed for 24 hours, and here's the FBI personally hosing everything off and sanitizing it all. I was there less than a week, and there was no active crime scene. Everything had been struck. Everything was gone. Everything had been ripped to the ground. What the hell was going on with that? We have Senator Kennedy, ladies and gentlemen, who's a real truth seeker and speaker. And I'm going to ask him about this. It's a final thing. What the hell is going on with Thomas Crooks in this phone? Listen, man, if you give us anything from the FBI, at least show us in the seconds before the shooting that took the lives of my fellow countrymen, patriots, firefighters, fathers, that hit my president in the head with a bullet. Can you at least show us who he was talking to? What was he looking at? You owe it to us. Was this a group chat? Was it a map? Was it instructions? Was he FaceTiming somebody? Was someone telling him what to do? I don't know. But I know he was doing it right there. And mere minutes later, this lumbering jackass goes clonking over the rooftop with a firearm so perceptible that hundreds of people said, look, he's got a gun. What the hell is that guy doing up there? Look, he's got a gun. And you just see him like clunking ass backwards over the roof right here. Everyone looking and filming like, what the hell's going on with this dude? Now we know. Transgender, furry, obsessive, cultist who was on the phone, making phone calls, getting information, talking with someone before he decided to go change the history of Western civilization forever. And we still don't know what it is. So, ladies and gentlemen, a agent of truth joining the program live right now, somebody who I'm just thrilled is on the show. The great senator who has never held back, and as far as I know, never told a lie. The only one since Abraham Lincoln. John Kennedy from Louisiana joins us live now. I don't know if you've never told a lie, Senator. I don't know. I'm just gonna tell people that. I hope that's not a lie, but you just seem straight as an arrow. You know what I mean? So
I have the right to remain silent, but not the ability. That's clear.
You are someone who does not shy away from uncomfortable truths. And the uncomfortable truth is that this morning, America is learning that Thomas Crooks was not a right-winger, as the FBI told the Senate committee, your committee on judiciary, Paul Abadi, deputy director of the FBI, but that in fact he was radicalized to the extreme by the left, calling for violence against Republicans and the Trump administration, and then engaging in transgender ideology searches, they, them pronouns, and some very dark stuff with furry subculture. Why are we just hearing about this now, Senator?
This whole thing is very odd. I think back to other attempted assassinations. FBI has always given us, and the Department of Justice, given the American people a full report, sharing with us virtually everything we need to know. That's important for two reasons. First, the American people have a right to know. Number two, except for the institution of our military, Americans have lost a lot of faith, Benny, in the institutions of government. I mean, they have. I can remember a time when the American people would listen to our leaders in Washington about public health. Dr. Francis Collins and Dr. Anthony Fauci took care of that. So in order to rebuild the trust of the Justice Department and the FBI and the Secret Service that people like James Comey undermined, you've got to go the extra mile in terms of full disclosure. We haven't had that. That's obvious. Number three, this can help a lot of parents in terms of watching for warning signs among these young men. They seem to be mostly young men. So it's not just satisfying the American people's curiosity, though their curiosity is perfectly justified. It's also a preventive measure as well. You know, maybe the DOJ and FBI have been busy. I don't know. But they need to issue a full report, and we need to have another hearing, in my opinion, in the Judiciary Committee. If they lied to us or didn't have or had incomplete information that they gave us, they need to fess up. and I appreciate you talking about this issue.
I think it's a critical issue because it frames entirely, Senator, a different story about what would motivate this young man to go try and kill in a live TV execution style message to the country, our president. And we have a right to know this, and we have a right to know what radicalized this seemingly normcore young kid into doing this, into taking the single most extreme action that you can take, which is assassination, murder, killing, taking a life. We haven't gotten the full story. Yes, we've gotten nothing.
Well, he almost succeeded. I mean, this wasn't a case of somebody threatening the president or saying he was going to do. I mean, he did it, and yes. but for the happenstance, the will of God, whatever you want to attribute it to, the president would be dead. He just would be. We saw how close it came, and I've thought it odd for a while that nothing more has been forthcoming from the FBI and Justice Department. But I think it's appropriate that we ask, and I'm glad you are. These are all really, really fair questions. Especially, I would like to know who he was talking to on his phone before all this happened. And I think the American people need to know.
So wouldn't this be tantamount to influencing or rigging an election? If Thomas Crooks didn't have a full whitewash of his internet history and his political radicalization, he did start off as a Trump supporter early in Trump's first term. Mm-hmm. He did like President Trump, but he was always very violent. And then he had a very sharp turn leftward, and then a very, very dark spiral downward on the left, as we've seen with Charlie Kirk's assassin, for instance, getting involved in some very extreme sexual degeneracy and cultish ideologies. But that changes everything. Wouldn't it have changed everything in the time if we had known that Thomas Crooks was a far left-wing extremist that was dabbling in the most extreme ideologies of the left?
Sure. Well, something radicalized this guy. I mean, something did. And we were led to believe we were led to believe all sorts of things, but mostly we weren't given much information. And I want to know, American people want to know, preventing future instances would result from that. And I frankly have been surprised. I know the DOJ and the FBI are busy and all that sort of stuff. But I've been very surprised at the absence of information on this. And I'm glad you and others are bringing it back up.
Not to put you on the spot here, Senator, although that never seemed to be a problem for you, but let's say that you did have that hearing. You're a very powerful and well-respected senator, and you get the director of the FBI, DOJ, perhaps, or some of the FBI leadership in front of you. What would you ask them about this? What questions would you ask for the American people?
Well, I would go back over their former testimony and ask them if it was still true. I would remind them repeatedly that they're under oath. I would ask them to release all of this, the assassin's cell phone records, not just the metadata, but the conversations that they have, and I'm sure they do. I would ask them to release his history on social media. I would ask them to release all of the interviews that they've done. They can redact some of the names if they were neighbors, for example, that they interviewed that they don't want to be involved, but they need to release all of that. They need to release the information that was relayed to the authorities by the parents. They need to explain why they've been so slow in telling us all this. And again, I don't want to be unfair to Cash or Pam. I know they're busy, but this is kind of important, I mean, the president came within an inch of being killed. And I'm hoping that Senator Grassley, your show and others will prompt him to hold this hearing. And you know what? I think it'll be bipartisan. I think both sides would like to know.
Yes, I mean, obviously, and as a nation that is right now still reeling from the on-camera successful from the assassin's point of view, execution of Charlie Kirk, then I mean, this is now very exigent. This becomes like a very urgent problem to solve. And we must get to the bottom of both, correct? Like, nobody wants to see more of this, but it seems to be a pattern, doesn't it, Senator?
Yes, and well, I'm not qualified to say. It looks like a pattern to me, I guess I should say, Benny. But look, I get that some members of our law enforcement may be embarrassed about this. It looked like a multiple car pileup in hindsight in terms of protecting the president there in Pennsylvania. And I get all that, but that's no reason not to be forthcoming. Most Americans can understand if you made a mistake. They want to know whether you're going to make it in the future and what you're going to do to prevent it. But that's no reason and I'm not saying this is why, Benny, but I watch what in Washington and in life, I watch what people do, not what they say. And there has been a real vacuum here of information that's been coming out that the American people, for reasons I described, are entitled to know. And if they don't want to respond to us, I mean, I'll raise fresh hell. And I think you'll see a lot of senators on both sides of the aisle raise fresh hell.
Yes, that's right. Because, like, who's next? Exactly. Like, there are patterns here that are occurring, and we have to get to the bottom of it. Feds know more than they're letting on, and it shouldn't fall to independent investigators, Tucker Carlson, YouTube comments, whistleblowers, to be out with the information that the feds already know.
Well, these are all fair questions, Benny. I mean, this is not like somebody with a tinfoil hat is talking about aliens or something. You know, these are all really fair, reasonable questions that anyone with a brain above a single cell organism has already anticipated. Yes. And again, I want to be fair. Maybe they're working on it, but they need to work faster and harder.
So I haven't really enjoyed the strategy around the Epstein files. I think that it's been a wild roller coaster ride for something that seems pretty obvious to me. And the same principles apply, which is there's a trust deficit. There's clearly something very, very evil went on here, obviously, with the world's foremost pederast running a pedophile ring. So out with it, right? And I want to make sure that I'm not paying taxes to a pedophile cult. I think that's my right as an American senator. And so let's be out with it. But it's gone sideways. Up until last night, President Trump saying, release all the files. He said that on the White House lawn. So maybe everyone's on the same page now. I don't know. Where are you on this?
Well, I think I'll answer your question, but you really have to put this in context, Benny. This is related to our prior topic. Look.
Yes.
The American people are not stupid. They may not read Aristotle every day, but they get it. Eventually, they figure it out. They're busy earning a living, so they don't have time to stay glued to the news. That many of the institutions of the federal government of America no longer have the full confidence of the American people. This didn't happen overnight. This happened over years. It was one of the reasons that President Trump was elected president of the United States. And with the possible exception of the military, I can't think of an institution. Congress is never unpopular, but the faith in the FBI has been undermined, and the DOJ. And it's important to go. The only way we're going to get that confidence back is to go the extra mile. And that's why on these kind of issues, like the attempted assassination of the president, like the stuff around the pig Epstein, you just got to do the full Monty. You just got to say, here it is. You can see everything. Now, we may have to redact some names, for example, of victims, but you've got to trust the American people. And I've heard all the arguments that saying, well, it's not fair if someone just talked to Epstein on the phone. They shouldn't be tainted. Well, I think the American people can figure that out on their own. They don't need to be spoon-fed. I have never believed that the President Trump was involved in anything criminal. I've never believed that he was involved with any of these young women. I've never believed any of that. And I think the president, in his heart, is exasperated about, well, why, it's clear the Democrats are trying to make this about me, and there's nothing in there about me, so why are we so distracted? But the longer we go, the more of a distraction it's going to be. And you reach the point where it's just time, just like with the assassination files, it's time to do the full Monty. Let's start trusting the American people again. And I'll just add this. I think President Trump is right. Based on the recent emails released, it's all about Democrats. I mean, former president of Harvard, Larry Summers, has testified repeatedly, I barely knew the guy. Summers was going to Epstein for advice about how to get a woman to like him. I mean, and it wasn't just Summers. Noam Chomsky, a chaired professor at, I think at Harvard, maybe Princeton. I mean, you have all these Democrats. So the president said, I supported him. Well, we need to investigate all of them. But in the meantime, let's do the full Monty. And it'll go away. You'll have 2 or 3 stories. The media, the mainstream media will see that a lot of these guys involved, a lot of the pigs were Democrats, and so the media will drop it.
What should happen to Bill Clinton? Based on the available documentation, that is, again, one of the funniest boomerangs I've ever seen in politics, because Democrats thought they'd be cute last week and released a bunch of Epstein emails, only to show that Jeffrey Epstein was obsessed with destroying Donald Trump, working on slandering and smearing Donald Trump, that Epstein was being used as an op against Donald Trump, even in the first term, and that Bill Clinton liked him young. These are exact quotes from Jeffrey Epstein and victims. Other victims say that they flew on Jeffrey Epstein's jet with Bill Clinton multiple times. Kevin Spacey's a pretty famous actor. He said there were little girls on the jet trip that he took with Bill Clinton. So what's to be made of that, Senator?
Well, once again, that's why you need to do the full Monty. Former President Clinton, he's never lacked for a voice. I'm sure he can defend himself, but again, the American people are entitled to know. And the more they think, and I'm not saying anybody's hiding anything, Benny, but the more that the American people think someone's hiding something, the more curious and the angrier they get. The other thing that I learned from a lot of those emails last night was the incestuous relationship between Epstein and many members of the media. I mean, yes. I don't know this guy Wolf, Mr. Wolf, but my God, he's given Epstein, this guy used to write for the New York Times, and he's a prominent journalist, and he's all over the talk shows. And this guy's given Epstein advice about how to rehabilitate his image. That's important information. Now, the American people can figure it out for themselves, but they've got to have the information first.
Really quickly,
that made me want to stick my head in the oven, his incestuous relationship with the media.
Yeah, try reading one of his books. It'll really make you want to stick your head in the oven. So there is a member of Congress who's a Democrat, Stacey Plaskett, and she's now on record texting Jeffrey Epstein about how to get Trump during a deposition while being a member of Congress. Of course, I hate playing this game, but if any Republican did that, it'd be the end of their career, obviously. Yep. But you're in Congress. This seems like a pretty bad activity.
Well, it is bad, and she needs to explain it, and we need the records to see the context of it. I mean, that's just. I don't know how many times I need to say it. That's why we need to do the full Monty. And I understand the president's position. In his heart, he says, there's nothing here. That's the reality. But perception is reality in politics and in government, especially when the American people, they trust so few people in the federal government. And frankly, if they saw it from the inside, they would trust even fewer.
What do you see from the inside? Are we going to look at? Are we going to see Senate leader AOC soon? You going to have to serve in a Senate under AOC, Senator? She gonna take Schumer's seat?
Well, here's my prediction. Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez wants to be one of three things: Speaker of the House. She could I wouldn't be surprised if she tried to overthrow Jeffries. United States Senator from New York, replacing Senator Schumer, or President of the United States. Now, she's entitled to her opinions. I've said this before. She's a creature and a creation of the media. None of that bothers me. What bothers me is her policy chops. And as I've said before, you scratch the surface, you get more surface. If she can't understand that socialism is for morons, and she's elected, we're in deep trouble.
Yes. Okay, so what about Marjorie Taylor Greene and President Trump? I know that you know both parties here, and there's been a bit of obviously a little bit of a sparking off. President Trump pulling his endorsement back from Marjorie, and you know, it seems like this is going to be like this is obviously all of the drama that is burst forth onto the scene now. What do you make of it, especially leading up to 2026?
I think it would be fair to describe both President Trump and Congresswoman Greene as willful. They're both willful, and they both are type A personalities. And what I'd like to see them do, quite frankly, is just have a private meeting. Share a hug, share a cup of hot cocoa, try to work it out. It doesn't help either one of them. And the president's going to win this fight. I mean, the Congresswoman is smart enough to understand that. I just hate to see it because the legacy media portrays it as a split among Republicans. Really, it's a reasonable disagreement. But when you get two willful people, it can look like more than it is.
I think the breaking point there was more MTG going on The View, Senator. Will you be going on The View anytime soon?
I will not be going on The View. In fact, my version of hell is being required to watch reruns of The View for the rest of eternity.
I would like to start the petition actually right now to see Senator John Kennedy on The View. I think it would probably be their highest ratings ever.
Well, I don't know, but I have no interest in going on. I'd rather be poked in the eye with a sharp stick.
Senator, you've obviously you've popularized. I don't know if we have the clip, but it
if it's bad, I deny. If it's bad,
things that don't hang themselves. Things that don't hang themselves, right? Christmas ornaments, a drywall, and Jeffrey Epstein. Is that it? That's right.
Yep.
Did I remember that correctly? Okay.
I still want to know what happened. I'm not saying that it's people, they're not telling the truth, but it sure looks odd to me.
There it is. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, the man who wrote the book on testing negative for stupid, here's the actual book cover itself. And here's Senator Kennedy himself.
Benny, I lost you there for a second.
Oh yeah, here we go. Can you hear me, Senator?
Benny, I've lost you.
Oh, all right. Well, we're signing off anyway. So
hey,
Godspeed, Senator.
Lost you, mate.
Godspeed, Senator. We're hopping off anyway. Everyone follow John Kennedy.
Can't hear you
God bless
anymore.
you.
I'm sorry. I lost you.
God bless you. Just how it goes sometimes, ladies and gentlemen. It's been happening a lot lately, Klein. It's been very strange. I'm not blaming you, Klein. I'm just saying this is like starting. It's very irritating. What's also irritating is when you get up at 5 a.m. like I do. Whew, man, I got up at 5 o'clock this morning, but I'm very glad that I did because you can get your day. I need to do like a full reset, right? It's been just a wild couple of weeks and months, and it's time to get back on the horse, as they say. First thing in my cup in the morning is my blackout coffee. If you're waking up at 5 a.m., that certainly is what you'll need to get started. Go and did my prayers, did the Bible study, got a workout in, got my blackout coffee sitting there hot in the cup in the garage. That's where my gym is. It's got like a couple weights in the corner of the garage. Very proud of it. But ladies and gentlemen, this is the way that you start your day. If you're me, and it's the way you should start your day, hard work, grit, and the American dream built Blackout Coffee. It's an incredible company. It's great tasting coffee. I talk about it all the time. If you believe in hard work and American values, drink coffee that tastes like real coffee. Go to blackoutcoffee.com/Benny and use the code Benny for 20% off your first order. Support the American dream and drink Blackout. That's blackoutcoffee.com/Benny. Stop settling, start drinking real coffee. I got it, Klein. We talked too much about Epstein, dude. We talked too much about Epstein in the last. You remember Tim Burchett? Is the same thing. It was Tim Burchett is the same problem, bro. It's the same thing. MK Ultra, mind control, the assassins, Epstein. Boom, show goes down. Boom. Telling you, we have very fast internet here. We have a very sharp production team. It's got to be it. That's got to be it. We were on Fox News earlier today, and we were talking about what we're going to say tomorrow at Clemson University, where we'll be speaking. And what I'm going to be talking about is the American dream slipping away because young people can't afford houses. And if you can't afford a house, then you can't start a life. You can't get married. You can't have children. You can't engage in the activities that actually bring joy, which is like watching your kids grow up, getting grandkids. It's a wonderful thing when you do it right. And it's a terrible thing if you get robbed of that opportunity. Joining us right now is Lynn Patton, who is the Deputy Assistant for HUD in the first administration. She's now the Deputy Assistant for the Coalition of Policy and Engagement Office of the President. That's quite a title right now, but she understands a thing or two about housing. Welcome Lynn Patton to the show. Lynn, welcome back to the program. Yes, welcome back to the program. I'm going to try not to get your interview. It's a strange little thing that's happening on the show. Every time someone talks about the Trump assassination or mind control programs, their interview gets cut by someone somewhere in Beijing. And so we're just going to not cover those topics today and jump right into housing, shall we? How do we fix it? Although I know that you're versed on all of the above, and so maybe next interview. Yeah. But this is what I really want to talk about because it's something that I view as the theft of the American dream from young people and a problem that we need to have fixed. And one little data point for you: 40 years old. That's the average age of a first-time American home buyer. That's past the age when most people have children, start families, get married. Mm-hmm. It's terrible what we're doing to our young kids. The floor is yours, Lynn. How do we fix it?
Well, thank you, Benny. And as you know, you and I had the honor of being at CPAC last weekend in Mar-a-Lago, where we discussed this on stage. I saw you talking about how obviously you've been working with CPAC a lot lately after the loss of our mutual friend, Charlie Kirk. Yeah. With Turning Point USA after the loss of our mutual friend, Charlie Kirk, and how you keep continually getting the feedback from all of these young supporters and the movement that we've seen since his assassination about home ownership and how maybe there's a way that we can re-engage housing tax credits or maybe portable mortgages like Scott Besson has been talking about recently, which I think is an excellent possible segue into making home ownership more affordable for young Americans, because if you can move your mortgage and keep the rate, what you're doing is you're making more inventory available in terms of the real estate market. And when more inventory is available in the real estate market, particularly for upper and middle class homes, that in turn naturally creates more inventory for lower and low income homes as well. That's the way the economy has been working since the beginning of time, and that's the way we'd like to see it work again. I also love the idea of giving tax credits maybe for new homeowners, for veterans who want to be homeowners, things of that nature. And that's something that I know you're going to be helping spearhead with your conversations with both HUD and the Vice President's office.
I love the first-time home buyer tax credit. You know, Obama did it, but it was not a lot of money. It was like $7,500. But even that was able to pretty dramatically reduce the age of young people buying homes. And of course, as you know, and as I know, nobody wants to take their new bride home to the frat house, right? Or the group house, all right? No woman wants to raise her children in in a soulless apartment complex with 100 strangers, right? And like dogs pooping on the elevator. Like
I agree.
You want to have a home. It is in our bones. And so I really love that solution. Now, you work at the White House. You're coming to us from the White House today with that beautiful, iconic background. And I always love it when it says, bling, the White House has joined in our feed.
Love it. Love it.
So tell me, what is the thought process in the building? Can you give us sort of a landscape here?
Well, I know there's been rumors going around about Pulte's 50-year mortgage. I know the portable mortgage, bringing that back has also been in discussion. I will go out on a limb here and say that rent is down nearly 1% since last year when the majority of the American people voted my boss back into office. And we're very proud of that. So renting has become more affordable. Groceries have become more affordable. I know that there are a lot of people, we're not ever going to tell the American people how they feel, but I know that there are a lot of people out there who aren't feeling it necessarily in their pockets yet. But I will say that inflation is down. Gas is below at $3 in most states. We have Thanksgiving down 3%. We are working very hard to make living wages more affordable, make living in the United States more affordable. Under Joe Biden, the average American family spent almost $3,000 more a month. That is now back up $1,500. So it's coming down. Costs are coming down. But if you look at what just happened, the Democrats just spent 43 days wasting $15 billion a week. This is not how the American people move forward, and this is not something that benefited them at all.
Yeah, I mean, and again, and I appreciate the price of gas, I do, and groceries and so on. You look at a chart like this, and it's like, well, that's like kiss the American dream goodbye right here. So this is like home ownership in 1985 versus 2025.
Yeah,
and you can see that you have you have a severe problem, and that problem, I would argue, is really a supply and demand issue because you have now between 1985 and 2025, the U.S. government, no fault, obviously, of your boss or the current Trump administration, but the U.S. government welcomed in 150 million immigrants into the country and allowed for private equity to buy entire swaths of homes. An enormous percentage of homes are bought by private equity, by banks, by Wall Street. I think that should be banned. I think that should be illegal. I think the homes that they own should be forced to be given back to, frankly, to the and homes should be something that it should be American families that get first purchasing right to homes. Private equity also can't buy nuclear weapons. Like there are things that they can't buy. There's rules on things that you can and cannot buy. And so
home ownership is just, it should be something we covet and something that still embodies the American dream. And I know that the first step in going in that direction was signing of the Big Beautiful Bill. In fact, Trump likes to call it the Great Big Beautiful Bill now. But that lowered taxes for not only American people, but for corporations, for developers. And when you're reducing taxes and when you're reducing regulations, you're getting more people, more companies, more corporations to stay here. You're also getting more developers to build here. The cost of materials is going down. And so now at a local and state level, the ability to build is going up. And so that's something that we need to focus on at a state and local level. That's how you rebuild inventory. Portable mortgages is how you bring a lot of the existing inventory back into rotation. But again, it begins with building, and it begins with building in the United States of America. Nobody's better than that than we are.
Yeah. One final graph that is just chilling to all of us here at the show. The median age of U.S. home buyers since 1981, you can obviously see the red line. That's first-time home buyers.
Wow.
That's gone up significantly. I talk about that number a lot. But more importantly is or as importantly is the the age of the average home buyer, which, as you can see here, it's just been the same people buying houses for the last 20 years, because the average has just gone up every single year with the cohort, and now it's at 60 years old, 59. The average home buyer in America is 60 years old, which obviously means that young people are just not buying houses. It shouldn't go up like that. Both those tails up were during COVID, and it was catastrophic. It was after the Biden years, but Biden just wrecked home ownership in America. So we're very excited for the Trump administration to be working on fixing this. Is there any announcement anytime soon? I know that President Trump's going to unveil a slew of economic announcements this week. A
slew of economic announcements. In fact, your team actually texted me this morning and said that President Trump is now the most popular second-term president in over a century. I thought that statistic was fabulous. Here's what's happening. A year ago this month, the American people voted Trump back into office with a resounding mandate. Why? Because Democrats made the election about Donald Trump, while Donald Trump made the election about the American people. He continues to do that on a daily basis. It's funny because everybody always talks about how my boss deserves the Nobel Peace Prize for obviously obliterating Iran's nuclear capabilities, negotiating a ceasefire in the Middle East, bringing peace to Serbia, Kosovo, India, Pakistan, Egypt, Ethiopia. I could go on. There's so many others. And then also, but one of the stats that I said at CPAC when we were there was, which I was not aware of, is that when Trump first came into office in 2016 and went to NATO for the first time, there were only 3 countries out of all 32 countries that NATO has. Only 3 countries back then were giving 2% of their GDP to NATO. Several months ago, when Trump went back as a second-term president, he shook down all 32 countries to give 5% of their GDP. In my opinion, Trump deserves the economic sciences Nobel Prize as well. Take also example that during Biden's entire 4 years in office, he was able to negotiate $1 trillion in tariffs from foreign countries that benefited the United States. Since Trump has taken office 11 months ago, he has negotiated $19 trillion to the benefit of the American people. You can't make this up. It's going to be coming back to the pockets of the American people in the form of a rebate check, tariff rebate check, probably hitting pockets in 2026. But this is strictly because of the policies and the effort that Donald J. Trump has pushed forward. Americans remember that when he was in office the first time, we had the strongest economy in 60 years. We're very close to bringing that back. That's going to include ways to make home ownership more affordable, ways to make groceries more affordable. The focus is on, the domestic policy and the American people always.
Lynn Patton, everyone. Thank you very much. Everyone can follow Lynn right here. Godspeed.
Thank you.
Get to work.
Thank you.
All right. See ya. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Well. A fascinating. I just want more. I just want more. It's fine, but I just want more. I'm done hearing about international accomplishments. I know that they're important. I want domestic policy accomplishments. And I get it. Like Nobel Peace Prize, these things are important. I'm a Christian. I want peace. I desire this. I don't want more killing. But what I really want is the domestic peace prize, right? I'm tired of seeing my president get shot in the head. I'm tired of seeing Charlie get shot. I'm tired of seeing the agitation and collapse here internally in this country. We have so many problems that I just don't care. I'm America first. I'm America only. And what that means is that I put my nation not only first, but it's not even on the same universal scale as any other country. Please understand this. America is something that I care about as a nation and a land and a people because my children are Americans and they will grow up here. And I will leave them either a broken country that is sunken into sectarian violence and horrors beyond our wildest imagination, or I will leave them a functional, proper, clean, safe, tidy country. And that's the question. MAGA or Marxism? Nationalism or communism? Right now. This is the path that the two parties are clearly going down. And you have to have deep and abiding fatherly, paternal care for the people of this nation, not Israel, not Ukraine, not Russia or some Eastern European or Taiwan, whatever, hot spot of the day. Yes, I care about the Christian killings in Nigeria. This is critically important. But I also care, I care about the Christian killings here in America more. Why? Not on a spiritual level. This is totally political because all killing is wrong, obviously, according to my doctrine as a Christian. Because it could be my kids. And Christ himself says, what kind of a father are you if your kid asks for bread and you give him a stone? If your daughter asks for a fish and you give her a snake? Christ understands these things. He uses them in parables of, you're not a good dad. You're a horrible parent if you don't care for your own children above all else. And so, yes, it really doesn't matter what happens to the other 100 countries on earth on the same scale as I care about America. They don't exist, actually. America exists here, and every other country on earth is somewhere way below the standing desk that I do the show on, as far as my concern, from a political and pragmatic standpoint. And that is the only way to lead a nation. It's the only moral way to lead a country. It's the only defensible way to truly lead. And I think that there has, quite frankly, been a very good and correct snapback to that reality. I know this from firsthand experience, meetings that I've had. I also know it from just the general vibes right now, that this administration is going to hang in the balance, not based on what they do internationally, but what they do domestically. And that is a matter of absolute physical reality. And so that is why we are pushing ever so gently, or maybe not, for policies that will win the future here in this country. And I care not for other nations. Doesn't even register. Not on the same Richter scale. Just doesn't. Hope the best for them, but they're not my kids. And that's totally defensible for me. I know the scriptures. Not particularly smart. I'm not a theologian, but I can read. I read in Matthew last night these verses about being a good parent to your own children. Don't ignore your own children. When they ask for bread, don't give bread to 1,000 other children over your son. Don't give fish or food to the people who are not your own children first. Feed your children first. This is the order of things, ladies and gentlemen. And so it is completely and totally critical that the administration gets this and gets this snaps back to reality. You can snap back to reality, ladies and gentlemen, by investing in gold. Crypto has gotten torched over the last couple of days, but shockingly, gold has once again tick, 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 up, 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 up. Why is that? Well, ladies and gentlemen, gold is the original crypto, I guess. You heard me say once or twice before. What's really happening right now, and gold and silver are breaking out to new all-time highs. Smart Americans are finally waking up, and those who own real physical gold and silver are watching their wealth win right now. If you have a 401k or an IRA or any retirement account, you have a choice. Sit back and watch the winning happen. Take control of what's yours with Advantage Gold. This is the #1 rated precious metal company in America. Call Advantage Gold today at 800-900-8000 right now. Leave a voicemail with your email address. Advantage Gold will send you their gold investment kit. $49 value is totally free. That's 800-900-8000 right now. Don't wait while the price of gold keeps climbing. Call them now and lock in your golden arrow. Okay? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, 2 big-time news stories from this week that we will definitely be covering. We'll see what happens. President Trump says, release all of the Epstein files. There is nothing to hide. President Trump said this on the tarmac on getting off of the helicopter, I believe, here at the White House lawn. Let's listen. No, it's not a clip. Oh, my apologies. Ladies and gentlemen, it was I thought it was from the news cycle. Oh, it is for Truth Social. Correction. I got my stories wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, Truth Social, Donald Trump on Epstein. Correction. This wasn't from the gaggle this morning. Here we go. That's what I get for waking up at 5, being so proud of myself. As I said on Friday night, aboard Air Force One to the fake news media. Wait a second. It is. I know I remembered that. There is a clip of him saying that. But whatever. That's fine. Whatever. House Republicans should vote to release the Epstein files because we have nothing to hide. And it's time to move on from the Democrat hoax perpetrated by the radical left. Great success of the Republican Party, including the recent victories over the Democrat shutdown. Department of Justice has already turned over tens of thousands of pages on the public on Epstein and are looking on various Democrat operatives, Bill Clinton, Reid Hoffman, Larry Summers, etc., and their relationship with Epstein. House Oversight Committee can have whatever they are legally entitled to. I don't care. All I care about is Republicans get back on point on the economy, affordability, where we are winning big, and the victory of reducing inflation from the highest levels in history, bringing down prices for the American people, historic tax cuts, trillions of dollars of investment, and building our military, securing our borders, deporting criminal illegal aliens, ending men and women's torts, stopping transgender for everyone, housing, get in there, housing, come on. Nobody cared about Jeffrey Epstein when he was alive. If the Democrats had anything, they would have released it before the landslide election victory. Some members of the Republican Party are being used, and we can't let that happen. So let's start talking about the Republican Party's record-setting achievements and not to fail for the Epstein trap, which is actually a curse on Democrats, not us. Make America great again. Okay. Good. Man, why couldn't this have just been the response in July 5th? Well, I always remember this. July 5th, they literally did this. They did that dumbass press release on July 5th saying, nothing here, we're not going to release anything. I'm like, dude, that's not going to work. Why would you do this? It was the 4th of July. Everyone was vibing. Everyone was chill. Everything was going fine. Why would you release? Why would you do this? You're like, no, this is a bad decision. This should have always been the decision. Good on Trump. You know what? It's just the way that it works in the world. Yeah, sometimes you just end up getting what you get. And you should be happy when people come to the right answer. And it's painful to get to this point, but you should just be happy that we've arrived here anyhow. So expect there to be a vote to release all of the Epstein files. What about the January 6th pipe bomber? Goodness gracious. We've been covering that. It's been something that is clearly on the top of mind of the show all the time since we did some of the foremost investigation into the January 6th pipe bomber. Kash Patel is out with new information on that. Okay, let's go. Kash Patel saying, stay tuned. Okay. Kash Patel says that there has been a massive operation into the finding of the pipe bomber and into the final identification of who and what the hell was happening here. We've been told for years that an unidentified suspect, 5'7", planted pipe bombs at the RNC and DNC headquarters during the Capitol riot. While interest has continued to grow, the FBI still can't find the person who planted the bombs. Sorry, not during, the night before the Capitol riot. They had 60-second timers on them, LOL. So you set them the night before. How's that going to work out for you exactly with your 60-second timer? The whole thing is so dumb. The whole op is so dumb. FBI Director Kash Patel appeared on Sunday Morning Futures to discuss the ongoing investigation and what really happened. He says, stay tuned. Let's watch.
Do you have any news for us on January 6th in your investigation?
I think you'll see something on that front very soon. As you know, we can't reveal our ongoing investigations. And as it goes for things like Russiagate, Maria, again, maybe no one better than you has covered it. And look, I lived it. I was weaponized as a victim against a weaponization, politicization of law enforcement, including at the FBI, by former senior leadership there. And I was the one that ran and uncovered the Russiagate hoax and conspiracy back on my House Intel days. I can't talk about ongoing investigations, but I think you've seen reporting in the media and reflections as to what's going on. We will not allow anyone who participated in the Russiagate conspiracy or those who improperly and illegally, in my opinion, spied on me, members of Congress, and even members of the media for a political end state to be left unturned. These are investigations that are of important consequence to the American public. Deputy Director Bongino and I have lived through it with you and everyone else. And we don't ask you to trust us, but look at the work we've put in under President Trump's leadership. We are going after every single person, from drug traffickers to those who create precursors to those, most importantly, who weaponize our system of law enforcement. You've already seen indictments of people like former Director James Comey and others, and we're not done.
Many people spent jail time as a result of January 6th, and you've been doing a deep dive investigation into this. There's a lot of speculation online. We want to know who planted the pipe bomb. Is there anything you can tell us there? And how many people were arrested on January 6th?
Too many. Far too many, far too baselessly, as a result of a weaponization of justice and a politicization of targeting President Trump's supporters. It was unlawful and improper, and we've been working like we have with the Deputy Director to unearth that. And as it relates to major investigations of public importance like the pipe bomber, again, I say, stay tuned. We reviewed every single investigation of public consequence, reopened them, reevaluated them, because we feel it cannot go untouched. We are not going to let these things lay by and allow the fake news media to run roughshod over us. Our indictments speak powerfully in court. If you don't believe us, just look at the response that the Eastern District of Virginia under Lindsey Halligan did to James Comey, and look at the notes and publication of evidence. That's the type of material we have, but we have to safeguard our prosecutions, because the ultimate accountability is with the verdict in a jury room.
I mean, I totally agree with this. Again, my criticisms remain. You got to just be out with all the evidence, man. But if it's an ongoing case and you're trying to find somebody, fine. But you have to find them. More importantly, you should be doing regular media availability for updates on the case. There are things in the January 6th diaspora that are of great public interest. It destroyed the lives of people, committed suicide, people killed themselves. I don't know the exact number, but J6ers were suiciding themselves, killing themselves because they were charged for this. This was a Fed op. This was obviously entrapment. It's one of the greatest, darkest evils I've ever seen. This side of a straight up political assassinations, which is the topic of the show. And so the only legitimate terrorist on January 6th is this scumbag pipe bomber, this douchebag who's clearly working on some type of op. And so we have a right to know. And there should be extreme urgency around it. But what it seems like is that there's just been sort of a lack of major updates. We appreciate the fact that there's been some updates, but just like with Thomas Crooks, or just like with Epstein, just like within your relationship with your wife, the only way to have total trust is to have total transparency. You know, trust but verify. And so if there's nothing to hide, or if there's something going on there, be very purposeful on releasing that evidence. I think the American public will thank you for that. But the more that's hidden, the more that's sequestered and cloistered away, the more it gives opportunity for mold to grow. You know, mold doesn't grow out in the sunlight. It grows in the dark and damp places. These are obviously dangerous things, bad things. You don't want them on your house. You don't want to buy a house with mold. But it can only grow in the darkness. And it's the same with every incorrect or wild theory. I'm not going to say conspiracy theories because everything's just a theory until it's proven right or wrong. But you don't want that. Don't you want to just be out with the truth to the American people? And it's what must happen with the pipe bomber. There was a big pipe bomber story from The Blaze. They've since added a ton of corrections to it and so on and so forth. So I guess we'll see where that one goes. But the response to that should have been immediate from the FBI, because everyone's going to see it. So they're going to need to see what the officials and official networks have to say about it. And that would be my major critique. It's a nice through line, actually, through the topics of today's show, especially Thomas Crooks, because he's dead, right? Tyler Robinson is standing trial. The reason why a lot of the Epstein stuff can't come out is because, and this is just a matter of fact, these are legal facts, take it up with the people who told me this, but a lot of the Epstein stuff is locked under seal because there's still trials going on. Ghislaine Maxwell has cases on appeal. People are suing Epstein. Epstein's estate is being sued by a bunch of parties, countersuits and stuff, and this locks up a ton of evidence. Okay, all right. It's an annoying explanation, but if that's the case, then you need to just go out to the American people and make that case. That'd be my 2 cents here. But anyway, we're glad. I mean, we would love nothing more than to see the terrorist who's clearly working in concert in order to destroy MAGA on January 6th. We would love to see that Fed brought in. We would love to see the full architecture of what was going on there. All right. We'll stay alert and attentive to that story because we're drinking our 120 Life. Ladies and gentlemen, 120 Life is our very healthy drink that we drink every single day to help with our blood pressure. Our blood pressure is terrible. I'm sorry, it just is. It just runs in the family. Bad ticker, right? Our blood pressure is terrible, ladies and gentlemen. 120 Life, which is a blend of 5 all-natural ingredients that have been proven to lower your blood pressure naturally. This is the drink that you should have. If you want to do that, you could save 20% with code Benny at 120life.com, 120life.com. It comes in these nice little cute bottles. You can see it on the screen right there. My kids drink them. They love them. This is a major, major problem in America. Half the country has high blood pressure. With Thanksgiving coming up, you're about to be sitting at a table with people you love. Make sure that you talk about this and that you get high blood pressure under control. Go to 120life.com. That's 120life.com and use my code Benny for 20% off. Try it risk-free for 2 weeks. If your blood pressure doesn't come down, you get a full refund. Nothing to lose but your high blood pressure. That's code Benny for 20% off today. Okay, USDA chief says everyone will have to reapply for SNAP benefits after claiming rampant fraud. Well, that's awesome. Sweet. Cool. They must watch the show. The Department of Agriculture said the Trump administration is planning to have everyone receiving SNAP benefits reapply after a probe of the bulk of Republican-led states allegedly found 186,000 cases of fraud. Agricultural Secretary Brooke Rollins alleged that fraud was running rampant around the embattled Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. It's not nutritional. It's not supplemental. It's not assisting anyone. It's actually killing Americans and allowing them to be fat slobs, sitting around, never having to work, but being able to eat. So that, again, is against Scripture. The Psalms say, if you don't work, you don't eat. The probe claims that nearly 200,000 deceased men and women and children are receiving a check in just the 29 red states that turned over their data. Can you imagine when we get our hands on what's going on in the blue states? Okay. I love it. This is something that we openly called for. Excellent, ladies and gentlemen. What else are we calling for? Well, we're calling for accurate polls and accurate markets. Let's go ahead and check the polls with Polymarket. So we asked about Chuck Schumer. Will Schumer still be the minority leader through March of this year? There's an 84% chance. But it ain't 100 and it's dipping down below. It looks like there's a lot of pissed off Democrats, obviously, at Chuck Schumer. And I don't know, man. I gotta tell you, I think his days are numbered in the political landscape. Mainly because they could smell, proverbial blood in the water. He's from New York. The DSA, Democrat Socialists of America, are taking over that state entirely. They're taking over the entire Democrat Party. It is like a reanimated corpse at this point. And the only energy is pulsing through the actual Marxists. And it's only a matter of time before the entire operation just flips. And the leadership of the party, I mean, they're all getting so old, they're all ancient now. So you had like Pelosi's retiring. They like Pelosi, Clinton's, Biden's, they're all done. They're all out. They're all in their 80s. They can barely walk. Those people are cooked. And then what comes next, and where the energy is going to flow into, is going to be sort of, Obama is going to be the bridge into socialism. I'm telling you. Obama's in his 60s, so he's young. He's a spring chicken compared to the rest of them. And that's what's going to happen. And they're going to kick guys like Schumer. They're just going to throw him, man, down the stairs. That's what they're going to do. It's going to be rough to see, but it looks like, according to Polymarket at the very least, he'll be clinging on for just a little bit longer. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to what I've always wanted to talk about on the show during this time of year, my Christmas ornaments, the sweet Christmas ornaments from the Benny store. Here they are, live in the studio. Klein has yet to go get me the new ones. I think that changes today, Klein, does it? All right. What's that? Here we go. All right. Yeah. Everyone's got problems. Look at these. Here's the B-2 bomber. Here's the RFK candy cane holder. It is Christmas time. Yes, I know we haven't had Thanksgiving yet, but it's Christmas time in the Johnson household, and we have, these are the ones that we're missing, the Trump waving out the window and the garbage truck. They can all be yours. You can get them in a bundle. You can get all of them in a massive bundle, or you can order them for $5 each. No inflation around here, baby. We've figured out how to do American manufacturing, made by American veterans here in the great state of Florida. The freedom flag is flying. And they ship same day. So we have that system set. I know that we were way behind last year. Not this year, man. We are locked and loaded and ready to bring Christmas joy and cheer to you and yours. So go to the Benny store, link in the description. Okay, I tried to time it with the music, Klein. It's good. Okay, there you go. All right, verse of the day here. Trust in the Lord with all of your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight. From Proverbs 3:5-6. There is a lot going on right now. As we talked about in the show, a lot of dark spiritual energy. It is more important than ever. I was up praying in the small hours of the evening last night. It's more important than ever to stay locked in, to stay humble, to remember that God is God. He's in control. He doesn't need us. I'm not trying to be cruel here, but God doesn't need a Benny. He created us for a purpose. And that purpose, what does God have for your life? You should identify that purpose. And it's a wonderful thing to do that. It's exciting to be in a flow state with God. And so lean on the Lord and not yourself for your own understanding. In all of your ways, submit to him, and he will make your paths straight. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back tomorrow. Then we'll be up at Clemson University. Excited about it. If you're in the South Carolina, Clemson area, well, roll on up. We're going to have a blast. And this is how we save the country. And it's fun to save it with you as we march forward onto victory. Because you know what? Victory is assured for us. remember this. In the end, we win. It's your boy Benny. See ya.
Who defiled my beloved floor? Was it you, Private Crooks? Say it. No, sir. Don't you lie to me, boy. You're dressed like a canine, and there's a crime scene shaped like a Tootsie Roll right here.
Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade. Cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade. Cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light.